The words that will comfort me, I am. The words that inspire me, I am.
Hello, and welcome to That Oneness Guy podcast, a podcast covering the many aspects and elements that embody oneness, our inherent eternal truth and birthright, reminding us that we are connected to one and all as individualized expressions of one source. I am your host, Danny Rongo, and yes, I am that oneness guy. As an author, speaker, and singer-songwriter, I continue to share my unique message of oneness. So, let's get right into podcasting.
To words that encourage me, I am.
Hello, my friends in oneness, and thank you again for tuning in. Now, for this specific episode, I'm going to take a short break from the Oneness and Wellness campaign that I started actually last week, and I want to highlight a special oneness guru. Now, I've been following the insightful and inspiring posts of Noella Ji for quite some time now, and I knew that I just had to have her share her story and her insight on the podcast. For as we know, my friends, it's all about the oneness. So let me tell you first a little about Noella Ji. She has been on a spiritual path for 40 years. Noella Ji is a counseling hypnotherapist, a training yogini with an Indian Satguru in India. She's a healer, meditation teacher, a speaker, and an upcoming author on oneness. She also has a background in fashion and interior decorating. Noella Ji is known as Noella Ji Oneness Canada, where she has been raising awareness on oneness for over a decade. Now, back in 2019, she moved to India to start her ashram. She resides back in Vancouver, Canada, currently, where she continues to work on her spiritual work. And I want you to listen to her beautiful mission statement. And it goes like this. We don't do oneness to be great, but to be love. So my friends in oneness, say hello to my new friend, Noella Ji. How are you, dear?
Oh, namaste. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And listen,
Danny.
again, thank you, my friend, for coming on to the show. Like I said, this year, I'm just continuing my efforts to reach out to the people who are inspiring me, Noella, as you have been for quite some time now. It just seems that there's so many more people who are coming to know what oneness is, why it is, and especially now, in light of everything that's going on in the world, as we all can attest to, it is so very much needed. Oneness is, to me, I've always said it's our only hope to really save mankind, if you may. And we say that on the brink of another atrocity if this war overseas escalates now, but that's a whole different conversation. I don't want to go there. But I'm inspired by your work. I'm inspired by your message. I appreciate it. And I just know that my friends out there listening will be just as inspired. And later on in the show, I want you to share where everyone can meet you and follow you. But for now, let's just start with tell us your background. Tell us how you came to be this beacon that you are in oneness. So take it away, my dear friend.
Okay, great. Well, my background, I am French Canadian and First Nations. And my oneness basically started, I think, basically all my life. I think I was talking about that earlier. I never really liked segregation. I never really liked division as a child. And for me, if someone wasn't popular or happy at school, I was always their friend.
Yeah.
I didn't like anyone not being all together. And that is a oneness thing, because if you hurt, I hurt. And that's all oneness right there.
That's right.
So you want that unity. And I didn't like anything that was sort of segregated growing up as a child, but not really knowing it was oneness.
Yeah.
I just thought I was a good kid and sort of wanted people together.
I had the same kind of feelings too, Noella. First, like just briefly, I hated seeing bullying. Like when I was a kid, right? It just always tugged at my soul. I always felt for that person, you know, girl or a boy was being bullied. But you understand that that's like our initial calling, like when we're younger like that. It's like, why do we feel that way?
No, for sure.
Right.
And I mean, I felt that way. And I mean, if a child was unpopular or anything like that in school, I was always their friend. I was always everybody's friend. You know, like I didn't look to be up here or down there. I just always saw everyone as being equal.
Mm-hmm.
There was no one ahead of me and no one below me. We were all the same, but not really realizing it was a oneness concept. But it is unity, and I've always liked it. And so my real journey with oneness really started when I was 14 years old.
Yeah.
And I was in a secondhand store with my mom, and I opened up a book, and it was Norman Vincent Peale, The Power of Positive Thinking. And that's when really my journey really started, because a light bulb went in me, and I said, okay, there is something positive. There is more in the world. And I went to seek that out. But I think everybody has their journey. They start at a different time.
Mm-hmm.
And really it comes down to it. We're looking for something and we're not sure what it is, but really what it is finding out who we are inside, that divine love, that oneness inside of you. Because once you find that divine love, that's who we really are. So we're sort of on a journey searching to find out who we are, but it's within us.
Mm-hmm.
So we have those inner eyes, but we're always looking outside because we live in an external world.
Isn't that the truth? Everyone looks to the out. Everyone looks without instead of within. And the answer, as you know, is always within.
It really is. And even like with my hypnotherapy work, that's all inner work. Self-love is all inner work. And I've talked about even self-love on my page online. And people have to realize the difference between self-love and self-care.
Yeah.
And it's not, painting your nails and having a bubble bath. That's self-care. Self-love is real inner deep work. And when you really love yourself, you can love others. And that's a total oneness concept. Because
that's a great way to look at it, like you said, because it makes so much sense. Because most people would actually consider it as self-care, the way you dubbed self-care, but that's not the case, right?
That's right.
Yeah, it's not.
Because external. Because self-care is external, isn't it? Like I'm getting my nails done, I'm doing my hair,
exactly.
my eyes, but that's not self-love. Self-love is when you dig deep inside, and it's a lot of therapy. It's not easy, and a lot of people don't like it because it's very uncomfortable to really love yourself. But in order to love yourself, once you love yourself, you have the ability to love others fully.
Yeah.
Because you have that surface love, and then you have that deep soul love. There are two different kind of loves. They're two different things.
No, it is. And I've always felt that once you recognize that, it just naturally breeds more of a confidence. Like, I know when I was younger, I would talk to my younger sisters, like when we were teenagers and stuff like that, and like if they were worried about, getting boyfriends and just honest, natural, typical things for young girls. And I'd say, you have to find your love within. You got to be happy with yourself. You have to love yourself and really be secure with that. And that's not easily found nowadays, right? And especially in light of what's going on, it's harder and harder for people to come to terms with that, because we're so externally driven and everything is in this world of duality from us and for us, I should say, that people have a harder and harder time with just recognizing that they're this divine being. We're all the divine beings, and we have to get in touch with that divinity, with that love, for us to truly be able to express. That's how we express ourselves, once we become familiar and in touch with that divinity.
Exactly. And you're right, because a lot of people are thirsty for that, and they don't realize what it is. And, you know, a lot of times people come to me and say, oh, I read this that you put on your post. You posted that up and it really touched me. And you know, people would say, I read it for like a week.
Yeah.
What is
That's
it?
awesome.
And they would, you know, I get lots of letters, you know, and people write me every day. And the thing is, it's because it's the divinity in them. They're seeing in the writing, and
Yeah.
it's touching that chord, you know, that chord, and they're thirsty for it, but they don't know, they don't have a name to it, and it's just divine love.
Yep.
And that's the greatest thing about oneness, I love, because the power behind it is love.
Mm-hmm.
It's a higher form of love. It's a higher vibration. And when you're in harmony with that, you're in a whole different state of being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to be in alignment.
Mm-hmm.
And again,
You do.
it's so difficult because we all have hard lives. We all have jobs. We all have to deal with so much that goes on. So it's so tough. I know for me personally, Noella, it's just hard to always try to keep my focus on being aligned with my higher source, which is something that I work on every day, and I'm assuming I always will work on. But that's just my journey. But I know how important it is for me to be aligned with source, because that's where all it comes from. Because I know I can feel when I'm aligned, I feel better. Things flow, like life flows easier for me. Ever notice when you're like just aggravated at like something, how it kind of snowballs and like something else might go wrong? Well, why is that? Because we're like lowering our vibration, right? You know, and we're like operating lower than where we naturally should be. And it takes time. You got to recognize that, right? You have to recognize it and say, hey, I don't want to be there right now. That's not the lane I'm in. I want to be in the fast lane. I want to be here. I want to keep myself aligned. That's the way I talk about it, man. I said, we want to stay in the lane, but there's so many things in the world that I keep bumping us out, bumping us out, bumping us out. It's natural. That's the gift of being here in the physical realm, is that we have to figure it out, how to stay in the lane and stay in touch with the inner self, right?
No, you're right. And what you're saying is because we have the fear based, because we have the two emotions, we have the fear and we have the love, and oneness being love. And how do we raise that inner consciousness? Like you said, you get really angry and you're wondering, what am I going to do? And a really good point is, oh gosh, probably about 8 years ago, I had this man, he wrote me from the Philippines. And it's really interesting because we're big, you and I are both oneness lovers. And he said, how does one do oneness? And so I pondered on it, right? I thought, how can I tell this gentleman how to do oneness? And this works amazing. And I share this, and I'm going to share it with your audience. I'm going to give them this gift. And this gift I'm going to give your audience tonight, they're going to love it because it's going to help them out for the rest of their lives. So I did a YouTube I did a video on YouTube. It's 57 seconds on how to do oneness.
Really?
And it's 7 words. And you know what they are? If it's not loving, don't do it. And you'd think, gee, why would someone do that? Because if you change the way you think, you change your life. And because the power behind oneness is love, what you do is you change your consciousness. So every time you think on a fear-based reality, you're thinking fear, lower vibration. You think, oh, that's not loving, then I won't do it. And what happens eventually, you start shifting and you start raising your consciousness. And that's what I do online, is I try to help people raise their consciousness. And I put it out a few times on my page. And I had this one lady that I lived with for 3 months. And I did that because she said she was always worried. And I said, you've got to change the way you think. So I use the oneness concept. As my concept is, if it's not loving, don't do it. 7 words. It works great for children. It works for anyone. But what that does is it raises their consciousness. Now, I talked to her about 3 months ago, and she said, just from doing that, she said, Noella, you changed my whole entire life. This girl used to cry before she went to work. She used to be worried all the time. And she said, now I think, is it loving? Don't do it. And it changed her whole life. 7 words. And it's all because this man wrote me a letter from the Philippines like 8 years ago and said, how do I do oneness? And because I love what I do and I love helping people because I really want to see this world change, I really thought about it. And I said, well, the power behind it is love. So our actions have to be loving because all my actions are loving.
If it's not
Because
loving,
how do I
don't
respond to
do it.
oneness? And how do you respond? You're the oneness guy. So you do everything in a loving way, right?
Yeah.
So there you
Try.
go. And you raise your consciousness. It's that quick and it really
Yeah.
works. And it's so easy.
Yeah. And I could visualize you taking that further with your listeners and friends, because when they say, right, if it's not loving, how do I necessarily know if something isn't loving? Go by how you feel, friends out there listening right now. You know if something resonates in your heart and resonates in your being in a positive manner, it's a loving manner. If it doesn't feel right, you can't fake out the universe. I like to say, you can't fake out your higher source. If it doesn't feel right, that's why I'm a big proponent, Noella, of intuition, because I always feel like that's our source. I always say that how we speak to God is called prayer, or whatever you want to call your higher source, your spirit, whatever. But how God or that source answers back, that's intuition. That's when we get those nudges, those feelings. So that's how, I would further what you say and said, listen, this is how you're going to know if it's loving or not. How does it feel? Does it feel right? Then it's loving, because source is not going to send you anything that isn't for your higher good. It's not going to send you anything. It's not going to give you any intuitive responses that would steer you in a bad direction. It's source. It's energy.
Exactly. And it's love.
I love that so much. If it's not loving, don't do it. And don't worry, because when we come to the YouTube version of this podcast, I'm going to have that flying in right along the bottom of the screen here. So then I'm going to keep it up there too, because that's a keeper. And,
it's a total keeper, and share it with many people you can, because
I will, because
really,
it's so honest too. And it's so honest.
And it raises their consciousness. And it's all about consciousness, because you were saying like things in the world are happening and they're always going to happen, because really we're having a crisis in consciousness.
Yeah.
It's really a crisis in consciousness. So if we can flip their consciousness from a lower vibration to a higher vibration, but like people don't want to spend years in meditation, or maybe they don't pray, or whatever their situation is, it's so easy to give them those 7 words and say, if it's not loving, don't do it. And some people don't know how to pray. They don't know how to meditate, but they can do that.
Yeah.
Animals do it all the time.
They just have to be honest with themselves, right?
That's right. And it really does flip. And that lady, when she phoned me, she was so excited, because she was always worried and concerned, things that are happening. And it changed her life. She said, I changed her life with 7 words. And
how did that make you feel?
Pardon me, I felt wonderful, because
isn't that the best feeling in the world?
There is no accidents. How her and I ended up living together for 3 months. There is no accidents. And she needed me in her life to be in her life at that time, because she was going through stuff. And it really changed her life. And to change another human's life, that's a gift that makes me want to cry.
Yeah.
Like that really touches my heart, because that's what we're here for. We're here to push each other up. Yeah. And that's all about oneness. It's about pushing people up. It's doing things together. And I always believed in the power of people.
Yeah.
Always believed in the power.
Absolutely. It's the reason why I told you about before we started recording, how I recently started this Oneness and Wellness campaign. Because I sat with my wife back when this journey of mine first started and I was diagnosed. And, for a brief time, Noelle, I struggled about going public with it. But like the more I thought about it, I was like, if I can help one person, not necessarily just with oneness, but also how I'm getting through my physical journey here with this diagnosis, if this can help just one person, then it's worth it. And so far, I know that I've already reached and touched, a good amount of people who are inspired by the route that I'm taking. So to your point, yeah, that is what drives you and me and people like us. It drives us because when we know it's resonating with someone like this woman who you met, and exactly, you're right. There are no accidents in a perfect universe. That's been my mantra for my entire life. Everything happens for a reason, good, because the reason is that it happened. If it wasn't meant to be, it wouldn't happen. But yeah, it just inspires us more. So that's a great story, man. And I like I said, I'm going to be sharing those words on your behalf. See, I had a good feeling about this whole episode and meeting you, because I just sensed that we were, on a good plane together, and we're just getting to know each other. But tell me a little bit more about, like you started to tell me earlier about, how you can go into past lives on some of your clients. I always find that fascinating. So if you'd like to share some of that, I'd love to hear about it. And I know my listeners would too.
Oh, sure. Well, it's just part that I do. It's part of my hypnotherapy. And a lot of times people, they come in, maybe they have, just have a problem with their leg. They've been to many doctors and no one can find anything wrong with their leg and they don't know why. So maybe their last resort, hey, can I try past life regression? Maybe it's something in my past. And, it's really interesting. One lady I did, she's one of my followers, and she used to come to meditation all the time before I went to India. I used to have regular meditations at my place. And she wanted a past life regression done. But she says, I really don't believe in it. But I'm curious. I would love to try it. And I said, sure. And I was working on her vision boards and everything in this life. Anyways, just to not to get into her whole thing in past lives, but in one of her past lives, she was very well off.
Wow.
So everything she wanted in this life on a financial way, right? She, everything she wanted in this life on a financial way, because I was helping her with her vision boards at the time, she had in this past life. But this past life she didn't have was love. And in this life, she had her soulmate.
Wow.
Yeah. Now that's incredible, because this lady had everything in this past life. She had gold. She had a castle, like beautiful castle. She had servants. She had everything. But she would sit at dinner. Well, it was a guy. Would sit at dinner, and she was a guy in this life, sit at dinner every night by himself. And he felt so lonely because he didn't have love in his life.
Wow.
But he had everything.
That is so cool.
It is. It's really cool, because sometimes he would have his servants sit with him just to talk to, because he was so lonely. So this lady was a guy in that life. And when we finished all her past lives, she went through about 6 or more. And we came out, we talked about it after that. I said, isn't that funny how everything we're working on in this life that you want, you already had in another life, but you had no love. And this life, you have your soulmate.
Yeah.
So you really have everything, don't you?
Yeah.
She said she does.
So
it's really incredible. And I even had my daughter wanted it done as well. I did her. I didn't want to, but I actually did her as well. And it was really good. She said, Mom, you're the best mom I had. All her past life. So
that's good. Nice to hear. Thank you.
She appreciates me more.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love doing it. Like a lot of people, it depending, every situation is unique.
Yeah.
And some people want to see, maybe if it's someone in this life, that why they're connected, or anything. Everybody's unique. So everybody's reason for wanting to do a past life is different.
Yeah.
You might have the 1 or 2 people out there that are curious. They just want to try it because they want to see how it's like. It's great because you're basically, when you're in trance, your eyes are closed, but you see your whole life. So if you're a little boy running, you're in overalls, you're the little boy running, and you can't believe that's you, or you're female, or you're wearing a ball gown. And I had one person say, can I just look around?
Wow.
because they found it interesting.
Oh,
Because they
absolutely. How
loved
would it not
history.
be?
And they're like, they were just kind of looking around.
Yeah.
And, it's really, really, it's interesting, but it just shows us there's so much going on. But the subconscious mind has anywhere from 100 to 70 trillion memories. And it never stops. It goes all the time. So even when
Yeah.
you're sleeping, it keeps on going.
It
It
keeps
keeps on going,
going.
keeps on going. It's really, really interesting. And it really helps as well because in a oneness way, everything's connected.
Yeah.
So your past life is connected with
Yeah.
your
Well,
future
for sure,
life.
because
So
our
that's where
soul
the
was.
oneness comes in. And your mind, body, soul, everything is all connected. People are connected. Like I said, there's no accidents, illness. Everything is connected on how we feel. And that's the whole part of oneness.
And that's so hard for people to like grasp,
It
especially when
is.
we talk about that there's no accidents and this and that. And like I'm a firm believer that we choose this body, we incarnate into this, so we really know what's coming down the road while we're on the other side prior to incarnating. So like it baffles me, like when people ask, all right, well, why would someone choose to come here as like an infant and be, disformed or like something to that degree? And I remember, who was the Sylvia Brown? Although she was a psychic medium who passed away, over the last 10 years, something like that. But she had like a handful of books, a bunch of books actually. But I remember like when she talked about that topic, like how about the people who were born disformed and stuff like that. And she said that they're the most gifted people on the other side because they view that obstacle like, I can do it. I can do it. So let me go show that I can do it. Now, what a special being that has to be, right? For someone who would like voluntarily put that in their chart to come here to experience. I think they have to be blessed and have to be special angels, if you want to call them that.
They are angels.
Right?
I actually have a story for you. I had one lady call me up and I went to see her in the hospital. Her daughter was born disabled. And exactly what Sylvia Brown did. And I'm telling you, when I walked in that room, I really was in the presence of an angel. The little girl
Really?
couldn't talk. But when I looked at her, I almost started to cry.
But you
And
felt
the
something?
mother was, oh, did I feel something? She was an angel.
Wow.
And the mother was tired because she's her preteen now.
Mm-hmm.
So she had to pick her up and carry her into the car into her special seat. And she had problems with her back. So later on, her and I left the room and we're sitting into another room talking. And she was just telling me some of her challenges. And I said, you know what? You have an angel. And I explained to her. I said, your daughter is so pure that her energy will combat the light of her energy, will help so many souls.
Wow.
And talking about Dr. Wayne Dyer said that one pure soul can combat 750,000 souls. Dr. Wayne Dyer said that. So if you can imagine her daughter being so pure and never even thinking a bad thought in her life, what is she doing? And she is doing something, because when I walked into that room, I'm not kidding you. I really felt I was standing in front of an angel.
Yeah, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it.
The goosebumps,
Yeah.
I felt incredible. And the mother was so happy to hear that.
Oh,
It changed her.
that's so
She
difficult
goes,
on the
I
parents,
never
right?
thought of it that way.
Oh,
Because she
yeah.
thought, oh, what did I do in my life?
No, like, yeah.
Did I
Well,
not,
obviously she could beat herself up and think that she did something wrong, which is not the case.
Exactly.
It's just a matter of that soul took on that journey and took it on, voluntarily. Like I said, that's amazing.
It's a gift. And I
It is a
said, your
gift.
daughter is a gift. She's an angel. And you know what? That really made the mother feel good, because
Yeah.
no parent wants their kids to be harmed or hurt or have anything wrong with them.
Mm.
But when she found out her daughter was an angel, that just made her feel good, because I
Absolutely.
explained the difference in energy and purity.
Mm.
And she thought it, you know, because a lot of people don't know how this consciousness works.
Yeah.
And it was just, I don't know, she was just a beautiful little girl. And it was a great story. And I'll never forget meeting this child.
No, it's wonderful
Oh
to
yeah,
hear.
I would have loved to have her.
Thank you for
Just to
sharing
be in her
that.
presence, the
Oh, that's a
energy
wonderful story.
itself,
Yeah, because the
it
one
was
thing,
it was amazing.
yeah,
The energy, you'd walk in the room and
you
you
just
think
feel
you
it
just
right
walked
away.
in. Oh, you could
It's
feel it
captivating.
instantly.
It's captivating. Yeah. It
And I
gets
just,
back to, like you said, everything is energy. So, you just totally caught that child's vibration as soon as as soon as you're in the same room with her. Now that's a presence,
mhm.
right? That's a presence. Like, like you can run across 1,000 people on any given day. Probably 995 of them will pass you by, but there's still the opportunity of maybe, 1, 2, 3, or 4 might have something, and you'll like stop for a second, right? You'll feel it. That's an amazing thing too, but that's a great story. Thank you for sharing. I want to touch on something else before we forget, because it's very important to me. And it was one of the
Sure.
last things that you actually brought up to me, was the meditation page that you started on Facebook. I want you to talk about that, and because I want my listeners to hear, because I want us to put this out. I want to help you, obviously, any way that I can in moving this. So tell me a little more about that.
Well, I did the Oneness World uh, Peace Meditation site for humanity, is because right now, the way the world is we're kind of like hit rock bottom with just everything, like with the environment, just everything that's going on. And a lot of hearts are heavy. And I
Yeah.
can feel the heaviness. Like I could feel it just meditating in my living room, and I couldn't hear anything. I couldn't even hear the birds singing. There was such a heaviness. And I live in the city. I could hear the traffic going by. And it was just like everything was slowing down. Everything was
Wow.
sort of slowing down. And I saw the shift, and I know we're all going through this transformation. And I'm glad I don't watch the news a lot, but a
Good.
lot of
Yeah.
people
I
are
don't.
really moved with what's going on.
Yeah.
And we don't know what to do. And a lot of people have been asking me this for the last few years: do meditation, world peace, blah, blah, blah. And so I thought, okay, I'm just going to have to do it, because we need action. And, I have the motivation. Let's just do it. And what I'm trying to do right now, because I just started the page a couple of days ago, as you know, is I'm trying to get people in different countries to do meditation. So I have a guy my guru is actually going to be India. I have someone for Australia. So what I'm going to do it is like a time zone that's all the same time zone.
Okay.
So it's like, say you would be doing it in the States, because you and I are 3 hours apart.
Yeah, I'm the East
But
Coast.
it might be, say, here at 6 and at 9 at your place, but in India, it might be 3 in the morning or whatever.
Yeah.
We'll all do it at the same time. But my thing is because everything is energy, and the power of the people together will make a huge, huge difference. And so I'm just in the process of setting it up. But we really need it right now.
Sure. Okay.
It's really, really crucial. And I think we can't sit back and wait for someone else to do it. And I really believe in the power of people. I always have believed in the power of people, and how when we get together, anything can be accomplished. That's why I've always played sports growing up as a kid, is
Yeah.
because you can't win without good teamwork.
That's right. Again,
You
though,
know?
what is the full name of the page, so I can post it?
It's the Oneness. Sorry, it's because I just did it. It's the Oneness Humanity World Peace
Okay.
Meditation.
World Peace.
Oneness Humanity World Peace Meditation. So Oneness Humanity World Peace Meditation. Sorry, I know it's a mouthful.
No, it's fine. because obviously I'm going to put all of your sites and everything up here, but I just want to make sure that I definitely have this one invitation, because that's a beautiful thing. Like I said, my second book I wrote back when the whole COVID thing shut down, because I felt that that full body fear that, like you were referring to, that it was just encompassing the whole world. And to your point, Noella, it still is. And I don't know how it's going to go away. So hopefully something like this can like help. But I felt it, and I knew that I had to get beyond it personally. So I went within. I found my own way out of it. But that's when I said, all right, now I have to share it. So I said, well, why just stop at that? Let me go in and I keep writing, because we were on lockdown, and I was in the house for the better part of 4 or 5 months, so I was able to write. But that was the premise of it. It was that fear that is still encompassing this entire world of ours, and people don't get it, because we are just the sum of a collective consciousness. So when the majority of the planet is in fear base because we're afraid of something, no matter what it is. And in this case, it was something that would, like, throw up a red flag, and it's got reason to do that too, because it was something that something that we never experienced. But that's why I said we don't have to let it affect us the way it is. We've had viruses throughout. This planet's always had viruses. We always will. They're never going to go away. We're a living environment, we're an organic environment, this planet, and we're part of it. So how we allow things to affect us, that's the key component to what you and I discuss. So it's important for us to view it, but also I talk a lot in Oneness about the term acceptance. And like, people question that. They say, well, Dan, am I supposed to agree with everything that's like going on in the world? And I say, that's not what acceptance is. Acceptance isn't agreeing with everything in the world. It's seeing the world through the eyes of oneness, if you may. We don't have to agree with it, but we accept it because it is. Just like you said, there's no accidents.
That's right.
Right? So there's no accidents. So just if you have that as one of the foundational elements of your life, of your daily life, that term acceptance, it automatically takes some of the stress off, automatically relieves some of that fear. So if I'm relieving some of the fear, my energy goes out into the collective consciousness. And that's how we kind of take some of that back. That's how we can reverse this whole thing. And that's how maybe someday we can get back to a unified oneness, or some reasonable facsimile close to that. Because that's what it's going to take. People say, you can't change the world. Yes, you can. But it starts, as you know, Noelle, it starts with me, and it starts with you. We have to look in the mirror. We have to be the ones to say, I'm going to change. You have done that. You know what I mean? I'm still doing it. I'm still, I have to practice it every day, because I know what I want. I want to have peace in here. I'm not really worried about the peace out there, because if I don't have it here, right?
That's right.
It's not going to be reflected out there, because what is this world except a mirror? It's just reflecting what we are individually, but on the macro scale.
There you go.
Right? There you are. You're back. It's okay. But hey, listen, hopefully with the meditation page, this can be something we could just like move forward. And like I said, I'm going to do all I can to help with that. But at this point of my podcast, here's where I like to put my guests on the spot, as they say.
Okay.
So, only because I know if I'm that oneness guy, you are definitely that oneness queen. Okay, so
Oh, bless your heart.
no, so it's easy, and like you're gonna ace it. But I like to ask my guests this simple question, and you can answer it in 1 word, you can answer it in 100 words. I don't care. I just love to hear everyone's unique spin. And the question is this:
Okay.
Why oneness?
Why oneness? Because oneness is love. Oneness is everything. It's all interconnected. You can't lose with oneness. It's everything.
Yeah.
Without oneness, you have nothing.
Without oneness, we have nothing. Yeah. People just have to know that that's what's at the core.
We're part of the whole.
Yeah.
We're part of the whole.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just what it is.
And I love how you keep reverting back to love too, my friend, from your mission statement. We don't do oneness to be great, but to be loved. And then to, if it's not loving, don't do it. You're all about love. And that's beautiful.
Well, thank you. Well, that's the whole power behind it, right?
Yeah.
Because like God is love, or source energy is love.
Is love. Yeah.
And that is oneness. What is
love.
source energy? What kind of energy is it's love?
It's oneness.
It's the highest form of love. It's oneness. It's that unity.
Yeah.
And it really helps change that consciousness.
Yeah.
And it's written in all faiths, in all religions.
Oh, everything is written.
Every religion has it. Every faith has it. It's in all the Aboriginal. It's in everything. You cannot miss oneness.
You cannot miss it.
It's in everything.
You know, some like religions try to skew it to mean that, okay, still follow our path as opposed to anyone else's path, which is why, you know, like I have never been a fan of religion. Although I was raised a devout Catholic, but you know, many, many decades ago, I just went astray from it because it just didn't resonate with me. I would rather
same as me.
Yeah, think about it. You know, I was easy for me, Noel. I was like, all right, I have these questions here. You're saying that I'm here on free will, okay? But yet there's these 10 commandments that you know, like if I don't follow them, I'm gonna burn somewhere in like forever. I said, so it's free will, but it's someone's free will, not mine. So there was too many contradictions for me. It just didn't make sense. So I naturally just pulled away, and that allowed me to discover or uncover, as I like to say, my spirituality, aka my oneness. Because I allowed myself to think. So many people nowadays, and I'm sure you can attest to it too, they still practice and believe the values that their parents instilled upon them, which I'm not saying it was right or wrong, but they never allowed themselves to say, all right, I've been following the same church that mom and dad have been following 40 years ago. Is it still the right thing for me? Have that kind of conversation. That's what I like to say to people. And if it works with you, fine. But ask yourself honestly, do those values still mean the same to you? You know what I mean? Like with me, it's like, here's another example. You can't eat meat on Friday. Well, why the hell not? Why not? I'm on a plant-based diet now, Noella, but I always loved a good burger. Why the hell not?
I love that.
Thank you. I
want a burger. It's
yeah, exactly. And I'm here all week. Yeah.
That was a good point.
Thank you, my friend. So listen, before I wrap this up officially, tell my friends exactly where they can find all things Noella Ji. So you tell them.
Well,
sites, websites, anything. And I'm going to have
well,
everything.
I'm on Noella Ji's on YouTube. I have the Noella Ji on YouTube. I have Oneness Mind Meditation on Facebook. I have the Noella Ji Oneness Center on Facebook.
Okay.
Then I have Noella Ji Oneness Canada. And then I have the Oneness Humanity World Peace Meditation going on as well on Facebook.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And again, I'll have everything written down. It'll be in the description of this podcast. And for this here YouTube version, it's going to be posting on the bottom there as well, too. So my friends will be able to definitely follow along. So Noella, all I can say is, you know, thank you again.
You're welcome.
I thank you for your passion. I thank you for your insight, and mostly for your desire to share your beautiful message of oneness. It is such a blessing, and I am humbled by your words and by your presence, and I can't thank you enough. But I also want to thank you, my friends, for tuning in to this very special episode. As I've always said, guys, I'm blessed to cross paths with souls like Noella. And as long as you keep tuning in, my friends, I'll keep sharing these messages like that. So please stay in touch. And until next time, as always, I wish you peace, love. Let's try that again. Peace, love, light, and continued oneness. Namaste.
Namaste.
The words that will comfort me, I am.
I thank you again for listening to That Oneness Guy podcast. Please take a moment to subscribe to this feed wherever you may be listening to or watching this podcast. And please look me up and follow me on social media. You can find That Oneness Guy on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Just search for That Oneness Guy. And finally, to stay in touch with all things oneness, my books, and performances, please visit my websites, thatonenessguy.com and dannyrongo.com. In closing, remember this: oneness is not a religion. You can call it a spirituality, but it is more than that. It is a truth and a knowing. The knowing that we emanate from one source. Just like branches on any one tree, we are individualized expressions of that source. This is the truth of our race, the human race.
I am one of many who have come to sing their song, yeah.